Well, there you have it. What an amazing performance. And if you weren't awake before, you certainly will be now. Please join your hands together once more again to recognize that mesmerizing performance by Gadi Sassoon. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin the opening ceremony in a few minutes. In the meantime, please allow me to share with you a few housekeeping notes. Headsets are provided for interpretation in 6 languages, which you'll find either on tables or on the seats. Please put your mobile phones on silent now. And we have also provided overflow measures if the room is full and delegates are looking for space. So I'd like to remind delegates who do not have a seat at any stage over the next couple of days that they're invited to make their way to the overflow rooms. Now, you'll find the overflow rooms in the upstairs mezzanine, and from there you will be able to follow the sessions live on UN Web TV, as well as on screens in the outside foyer area. So we will begin again very shortly, and we kindly ask you for your patience in the meantime, and please remain seated. Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats now. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. Could everybody please take your seats? Thank you very much. Anybody standing in the room, please take your seats. Thank you. Excellent. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome once again the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, the President of the General Assembly, the esteemed co-chairs of the dialogue, and the heads of the joint secretariat entities, the ITU Secretary-General, the Director-General of UNESCO, as well as the Under-Secretary-General and Special Envoy for Digital and Emerging Technologies, for the opening ceremony of the Global Dialogue on AI Governance.
Bonjour, Genève. Excelencias, señora Presidenta de la Asamblea General, señor Secretario General, distinguidos representantes de los Estados miembros del Sistema de Naciones Unidas y de todos los actores relevantes. Hoy damos inicio al primer diálogo global sobre la gobernanza de la inteligencia artificial. Para El Salvador, y para mí personalmente, ha sido un gran honor copresidir este proceso junto con Estonia. Lo hemos asumido con convicción, con humildad y con un profundo sentido de responsabilidad. Este momento no representa solamente la apertura de una reunión, representa el inicio de una etapa más amplia de cooperación en la que diferentes realidades, capacidades, experiencias y visiones convergen en un espacio verdaderamente universal. Si bien este diálogo responde a un mandato reciente de la Asamblea General, se nutre de años de reflexión, innovación, generación de conocimiento y experiencias acumuladas por los Estados, organismos internacionales, sociedad civil, academia, comunidad técnica, sector privado y otros actores relevantes. Este primer diálogo también ha sido posible gracias al trabajo de muchas personas. Y permítanme expresar un reconocimiento especial a la Secretaría Conjunta y en particular a la UIT y a la UNESCO como co-coordinadores. Excelencias, a lo largo de este proceso escuchamos perspectivas y prioridades diversas en torno a la inteligencia artificial, pero también puso de manifiesto una aspiración compartida, que la IA debe contribuir al desarrollo, ampliar oportunidades, fortalecer capacidades y generar beneficios reales para todos. Con esa convicción, iniciamos hoy este diálogo, un espacio que debe enriquecerse con múltiples voces, sustentarse en evidencia científica y dar lugar a alianzas concretas que permitan transformar el potencial de la inteligencia artificial en resultados tangibles. Este es el valor del diálogo. No consiste únicamente en intercambiar posiciones, consiste en compartir experiencias, aprender unos de otros y fortalecer la cooperación internacional frente a una tecnología cuya evolución exige respuestas cada vez más ágiles e inclusivas. Precisamente por ello, esta conversación debe mantener un equilibrio claro entre innovación y responsabilidad, entre oportunidades y riesgos, entre cooperación internacional y realidades nacionales, entre la visión global y las condiciones concretas que cada país necesita para participar, beneficiarse y contribuir. Y ese equilibrio también exige reconocer una realidad fundamental. La participación efectiva requiere mucho más que estar presentes en una sala. Requiere capacidades, infraestructura, talento, instituciones, financiamiento financing, institutions and alliances and partnerships which allow for all countries can fully participate in this new stage and to reap the benefits from the opportunities that artificial intelligence offers. Thus,
Ginebra
Geneva
no debe ser vista como un punto
should
de
not only
llegada,
be seen as
sino
somewhere
como un
that we
punto
arrived
de
at,
partida.
but a point of
Caminemos
departure.
juntos.
Let's walk forward
Muchísimas
together.
gracias y
Thank
doy
you very
ahora
much. And
la
with that,
palabra
I'd like to
a
give
mi
the floor
querido
to my
copresidente,
dear
el
co-chair,
embajador Rein Tansar de Estonia.
Ambassador Rein Tansar from Estonia. You have the floor, sir.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by extending a very warm welcome to the nearly 4,000 stakeholders joining the dialogue in Geneva. 4,000. I want to express my sincere gratitude to Secretary General Antonio Guterres and to PGA Annalena Baerbock for their trust and for their support, and to the government of Switzerland for hosting us. Huge thanks to fellow co-chair Ambassador Lopez of El Salvador, whose partnership has been invaluable. I also recognize the great role of the Joint Secretariat coordinated by ITU and UNESCO in helping to transform the mandate entrusted to us by member states into the dialogue we are opening now. AI is already affecting every country, regardless of its level of technological development. The conversation on its governance must therefore be inclusive, including every region, every level of development, and every relevant stakeholder. No one should be left behind as we make better informed decisions when more voices are heard. Our responsibility as co-chairs has been to create an inclusive, universal platform where diverse perspectives can be heard, where scientific knowledge can be shared, where political and technological deliberations can advance, and where trust and common understanding can grow. Throughout our global consultations, we've heard that the opportunities AI offers, and there are numerous, can only be fully realized if this technology is safe, grounded in the international law and human rights, and if people themselves can shape it to be confident that AI serves them. Lesson learned from my own country, Estonia, is the same. Digital tools, including AI, can improve people's daily lives tremendously when human-centered, trustworthy, and supported by strong public institutions. Technology alone is never enough. Distinguished participants, over the next 2 days, we will explore what AI governance means in practice. Objective is not to eliminate differences, but to better understand them, identify areas of convergence, collect best practices, and strengthen the foundations for future international cooperation. I very much hope that dialogue can spark a sort of San Francisco moment for AI, and that one day AI would become a part of a public good benefiting all of humanity. With that, I wish us all a productive global dialogue on AI governance. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, copresidente. Damos ahora la palabra al secretario general de Naciones Unidas, Su Excelencia Antonio Guterres.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear friends, artificial intelligence is advancing at runaway speed. A technology that can reshape economies, transform the world of work, sway elections, and tilt the balance of security is being deployed faster than anyone, including the people building it, can keep up. An experiment is being run on our own societies without a plan and without consent. And that is not sustainable, and it is not acceptable. AI is already transforming our world. The question is whether we will shape this transformation together or let it shape us. And today that question has an answer right here at this global dialogue on AI governance. For the first time, every country has a seat on the table, and we have a shared base of evidence. This morning, the co-chairs of the Independent International Scientific Panel on Artificial Intelligence will present their first report. 40 leading experts from every region and across disciplines, serving in their personal capacity, independent of any government, any company, any institution. The science carries 3 warnings. The first is about speed. The internet took 15 years to reach 1 billion people. AI got there in 2. And these systems are no longer tools awaiting instruction. They are writing code, acting online, and making choices with less and less human oversight. Our institutions were built to govern machines that follow commands. They are not ready for machines that decide. And some lines, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. The second warning is about power. The computing power, the data and the talent behind the most advanced systems are concentrated in a handful of companies and in a handful of countries. Most nations, including many developing countries, have had no say in decisions that will shape their futures. The longer we wait, the harder that concentration sets. When power imbalances are hardwired into technology, inequality becomes part of the code. The third warning is about truth. A machine-enabled lie can now persuade as effectively as the truth, and authentic evidence can be dismissed as fake, further eroding the integrity of our information ecosystem and undermining trust. A society that cannot agree on what is real cannot defend itself. In other ways, more and more people are tempted to trust the machine and hope for the best. There is a name for that: vibe coding. Let the AI do it, don't look too closely, seems to work, good enough. And vibe coding can do wonders, but we cannot vibe code the truth. We cannot vibe code the future of humanity. So, dear friends, the warnings are real, but so is the potential. Because the same technology built with purpose is already changing lives for good. A mother in a rural clinic has her scan ready in minutes and her cancer caught in time. A child keeps learning beyond the classroom with a tutor that never tires. A smallholder farmer plants with the same forecasts as the biggest agribusiness and brings the harvest home. And all of this is happening today, often in places the headlines rarely reach. And it points to something profound. For all of human history, expertise has been held by too few people in too few places at too high a price. Penicillin took decades to reach the villages that needed it most. Electricity took a century and is still arriving. Artificial intelligence does not have to wait. Used well and shared widely, AI could compress decades of development into years. It could become the great equalizer of the 21st century, but no future builds itself. And so the choice before us is not between faith in AI or fear of it. It is between governing by design and drifting by default. Excellencies, in my first address to the opening of the General Assembly in 2017, I said the following, and I quote, "Artificial intelligence is a game changer that can boost development and transform lives in spectacular fashion. But it may also have a dramatic impact on labor markets and indeed on global security and the very fabric of societies." Back then, only 2 other leaders even uttered the words artificial intelligence. But today, it sits at the heart of our common future. And that did not happen by accident. For years, the UN system, from ITU to UNESCO and beyond, has been hard at work. In 2023, my high-level advisory body on AI called for the world to govern it together. In 2024, the Pact for the Future and the Global Digital Compact gave us the mandate. This morning, the scientific panel will give us the evidence, and the dialogue must now give the world direction. And it will be completed later this week here in Geneva by the AI for Good Summit and its initiatives. This is all part of an integrated UN effort to ensure AI serves people everywhere. So let me name 4 priorities for the road ahead. First, safety. When countries align on how to test systems, measure risk, and assign responsibility, safety travels with the technology. When they do not, a patchwork of incompatible rules raises costs, divides the world, and protects no one. We need common baselines for frontier systems, common methods to evaluate and verify risks, and common resolve that systems with global reach must meet standards worthy of global trust. Nowhere does safety matter more than for those least able to protect themselves, our children. We do not let medicine reach a child until it is proven safe. We test every toy. Yet AI has reached our children, their learning, their friendships, their most private questions, before anyone asked what it would do to them. And we are already seeing the cost. Children deceived by machines posing as friends, children steered towards self-harm, children violated by abuse images made at the touch of a button. No child should be a guinea pig for unregulated AI. Building on the work of the United Nations, member states and others, I am today calling for an AI child safety pledge with 3 simple rules for any system a child can reach. Prove it is safe. No company should deploy an AI system accessible to children without child-specific safety testing and independent oversight. Zero tolerance for sexual abuse. No company should allow its AI to generate sexual images of children, and every company must detect, report, and remove them. And never leave a child in crisis alone. When a child shows signs of distress, the system must stop and connect them to real human support. When a child is harmed, the answer must never be, the algorithm did it. Second, red lines. Human rights are not negotiable. AI must never strip away dignity or entrenched discrimination. And in every high-stakes decision, in justice, in healthcare, in policing, machines can inform, but humans must decide and answer. Third, capacity. Last year, private investment in AI infrastructure approached $500 billion. Public investment in AI capacity for developing countries is, by comparison, a rounding error. We cannot allow the digital divide to harden into an AI divide, and the AI divide to become a development gap, a security gap, and a sovereignty gap. More than 20 member states have already responded to my invitation and nominated centers to a UN-supported global network for exchange and cooperation on AI capacity building. The network will build on existing initiatives, sharing knowledge, promoting cooperation, and expanding access to capacity building, particularly for developing countries. And I will shortly submit to the General Assembly my recommendations for a global fund for AI to build skills, data, and affordable computing power everywhere. My message to all member states is clear. Support the network, back the funds, leverage the capacities of the UN system with resources, partnerships, and expertise. And fourth, transparency. AI may feel intangible, but its footprint is not. Data centers already consume more electricity than most countries. By 2030, they could use more electricity than all but 5 nations and enough water to meet the needs of all 1.3 billion people in sub-Saharan Africa for an entire year. And too often, the communities hosting this infrastructure are asked to carry the burden without the information they need or the benefits they deserve. That is why I have 2 weeks ago put forward the AI Environmental Transparency Initiatives, calling on every major AI company to measure and publicly disclose the full footprint of its systems, carbon, water, and land, and to commit to power every data center with renewable energy by 2030. A few companies have taken first steps. I invite all to go much further. Excellencies, the global dialogue is about civilian AI, but AI does not respect that line. The same models and chips have moved into the battlefield. My main concern is with lethal autonomous weapon systems. Let us call them what they are, killer robots. Machines selecting and engaging their target and taking a life without human control and judgment. That is morally repugnant, it is politically unacceptable, and it must be banned by international law. States are already at the discussion table, but let us not wait for atrocity to act. Some decisions must remain forever human, none more than taking a human life. Excellencies, some might claim that governance is the enemy of innovation. But innovation needs guardrails. The technologies we trust most, in aviation, in medicine, in nuclear energy and beyond, earn that trust because we acted to hold their makers to account. If AI is to be powerful, it must be governed. If AI is to be trusted, those who build it must be accountable. If AI is to be global, it must be fair. And if AI is to serve the future, it must not consume the future. That will require governments to act with urgency, companies to accept responsibility equal to their power, scientists to keep bringing evidence into the light, and this dialogue to become the place where global participation leads to global action. Excellencies, we may be the last generation able to set the terms on which humanity and machines coexist. The door is still open, but it will not stay open long. Today, in Geneva, 193 nations are stepping through it together. I thank the dialogue co-chairs for their commitment, leadership, and tireless efforts over the past year. And I also thank ITU and UNESCO for co-coordinating the Joint Secretariat supporting this dialogue, working closely with the UN Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies and partners across the United Nations system. Let this meeting be remembered as the moment governance began to catch up with the technology. And then this dialogue reconvenes in New York next year. Let us be able to say that the work begun here is making AI safer, fairer, more accessible, and more ethical. This is the measure of our task, to help build a future of AI by humanity, with humanity, and for all humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your leadership, for your powerful messages, and for underscoring the importance of international cooperation in ensuring that artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. We are honored to welcome Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock, President of the General Assembly, whose leadership has been instrumental in convening us all today.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear stakeholders. First of all, my sincere thanks to our co-chairs, Ms. Lopez and Mr. Tamsar, for bringing us together today. What we are discussing these days sounded 10 years ago like science fiction. And today it's almost outdated. Right now, developers are integrating AI into software development process itself, automatically generating, translating, and optimizing code. Increasingly, artificial intelligence is learning to interact with the physical world through what are known as world models. A technological revolution is unfolding before our very eyes at lightning speed and with few true parallels. We have seen revolutionary innovations before, but the key difference is that those innovations unfolded over time. Today, we do not have that luxury. Aviation changed the world, yet its fundamental purpose has remained the same. The steam engine disrupted the jobs of factory workers, but it did so over years. Even the splitting of the atom, which signaled the promise of an energy future for all, was purposefully slowed because of the profound dangers of nuclear weapons. Never before has the pace and scale of change been so blinding. And never has it been more difficult for us to understand and adapt to that change. Because if we are frank, who among us in this room, especially how many policymakers, aside from the handful of experts, really understand the depths and scale of what is happening with AI model architecture, autonomous agents, or the implications of quantum computing? Therefore, from the moment
the General Assembly adopted the Pact for the Future and its Global Digital Compact in September 2024. It signaled that the potential and peril of AI were too significant, too far-reaching, and too consequential to be left to a few. That is precisely why this global dialogue matters. Because something with such power, with such profound implications for our economies, our social systems, our defense, and therefore our peace and security, but especially for even our homes, our food, our children's bedrooms, can only be meaningfully and safely managed together. And the UN was built for moments like this. Even if the founders of the United Nations who drafted this charter 81 years ago knew nothing about AI, they didn't even have a computer. Yet they recognized the evolving nature of humanity's challenges, and the charter committed us, and I quote, to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems of an economic and social, cultural, or humanitarian character, together. Because something with such a power needs a global platform. It needs the United Nations. So, to anyone who's questioning whether the UN is acting within its mandate, the answer is right here in the Charter of the United Nations. AI presents an opportunity and a challenge that the United Nations is uniquely built to address. Like 81 years ago, the world must come together. And luckily, at least most of the times, we are human beings capable of learning. And by now, we know that we need not only a few countries, but all countries to face global problems. We need all stakeholders, all governments, all tech companies, and especially all civil societies and citizens, not only to avoid the dangers and pitfalls, but also to harness the potential, like the founders of the UN intended, for all, leaving no one behind. Because this is too big for any government alone, and as I said before, too complex. It needs you, it needs all of you who are part of it, not only as scientists, not only as company owners, as engineers and experts, but it needs you as fathers and mothers too, because our children are asking us to act together. It was the teenager, Ian Mike, who said during the commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda just a couple of months ago at the General Assembly Hall. I quote, "Today the poison travels faster than before, hiding in screens, masked in pixels and likes. Hate speech has found new corridors to roam, whispering old lies to a new generation. But we, the youth, are the filter and the shield. We refuse to let our platforms become battlefields." This means us. It means us as adults, as governments, as policymakers, as businesses, to address the sinister uses of AI, such as deep fakes, which disproportionately target women and girls, with a reported 99% of deepfakes being sexual in nature and 96% targeting women and girls. This is no coincidence. This is systematic. This is bringing up an old divide, a gender divide. This is about pushing back human rights and women's rights. And therefore, we do have a common responsibility to change it. Yet, and this is a good news, and the Secretary General underlined it, the potential of AI is a boom for the SDGs as well. We have seen, for example, in Bangladesh, where families receive early warnings of floods and storms from AI-powered systems delivered instantly to their smartphones. AI can save lives. We've seen in Kenya, where farmers receive detailed maps showing where and when to plant seeds to maximize their harvest. And now imagine if we use this power together. Imagine the UN leverage for these tools. Imagine UNICEF reaching children in crisis without personalized learning alone. Imagine the World Health Organization detecting outbreaks before they become pandemics. Imagine, during this technological revolution, that this time no country is left behind. The establishment of the Independent International Scientific Panel on Artificial Intelligence is therefore a major milestone, for the first time delivering parity across genders and regions, while drawing from expertise from all sectors. And it's a big accomplishment of the Secretary General to push that through since, as he mentioned, 2017. While this should simply be common sense, yet we all know we live in the world as it is today. And therefore, this won't be easy. Therefore, it's up on you, on every one of us, to seize this moment of being better together. Or, as Franklin D. Roosevelt said more than 80 years ago, also in a crucial moment for the world, I quote, "Power must be linked to responsibility and obliged to defend and justify itself within the framework of the general good." I thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam President, for highlighting the importance of inclusive and effective multilateral cooperation in shaping our shared digital future. It is now my honor to invite the co-coordinators of the Joint Secretariat of this AI dialogue. Doreen Bogdan Martin, Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union, and Khaled El-Nani, Director General of UNESCO. ITU Secretary General, you have the floor.
Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored to welcome you on behalf of the ITU to the first ever UN Global Dialogue on AI governance. The Internet began arriving in homes and businesses in the early 1990s, but it would take an entire decade before stakeholders around the globe would gather here in Geneva at the UN-mandated World Summit on the Information Society to discuss how to make such a transformative technology people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented. This time, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can be proud that the United Nations has moved much faster. In just 3 years since generative AI went mainstream, we are ready to shape its trajectory together during this Geneva Digital Week. A week that includes this dialogue informed by the Independent Scientific Panel, the AI for Good Global Summit, and the WSIS Forum. And here, I also want to appreciate the very generous support of our host country, Switzerland. This week, the UN system, governments, companies, researchers, the technical community, and civil society will discuss how to put humanity at the core of another transformative technology, perhaps the most consequential yet. Together with UNESCO, the ITU has proudly coordinated the Joint Secretariat for this dialogue, and continues to mobilize UN-wide expertise through the Interagency Working Group on AI. Excellencies, Pope Leo's Magnifica Humanitas mentions the word dialogue 34 times, recognizing that while many ideological and practical differences exist among us as people, amid our diverse interests and sometimes frequent disagreements, it is always possible to engage in dialogue, to establish a set of basic agreements that enable the creation of a shared vision upon which everyone can move forward together. I believe that is what we are here to do. It's what the Secretary General's vision calls us to do, driven by the co-chair's steadfast leadership and what the common good challenges us to do for the benefit of all people. ITU will be here to support this dialogue on artificial intelligence, as we have for every technology that has come before AI since 1865. And we stand ready to support humanity's cooperation on every technology that will come after. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General Bogdan Martin, for your continued work in building international cooperation and for helping to convene the global AI community around practical solutions and shared objectives. It is now a great pleasure to invite Mr. Khaled El-Enani, Director General of UNESCO, to take the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear partners and friends, it's a great honor to join you today for the opening of the Global Dialogue on AI Governance, for which UNESCO and the ITU are serving as the Secretariat, working in strong collaboration with audit. As more governments adopt AI strategies and more institutions recognize the need of ethical, safe, and trustworthy AI, a significant gap persists between ambition and implementation. This is where UNESCO has a distinctive role to play. First, UNESCO provides a common normative foundation. Through its 2021 recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, the world's first global standard in this field, UNESCO offers member states a framework to ensure that AI advances in line with human rights, sustainability, and inclusion. But norms alone are not enough. To turn principles into action, UNESCO works with more than 80 countries to strengthen legal frameworks, institutional capacities, governance arrangements, skills, and accountability mechanisms. At the same time, we are investing in the people who will shape and implement AI governance. To date, more than 50,000 civil servants and judicial actors across 192 countries have benefited from UNESCO-supported training programs and tools. And as AI becomes increasingly integrated into the lives of children and the young people worldwide, UNESCO recognized the need for a global coalition to protect and promote their rights, and stands ready to contribute actively to this effort. In this regard, UNESCO is launching a collective reflection on a new global normative instrument to better safeguard children and young people in the age of AI and digital technologies, ensuring their rights and well-being remain at the heart of the digital transformation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, AI governance is a shared responsibility. No single institution can meet this challenge alone. We need a one UN approach, as stated by Mr. Secretary General. By combining our mandates, expertise, and global networks, and by engaging governments, the private sector, academia, and civil society, we can help bridge capacity gaps and ensure that AI serve the public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Director General El-Enani, for emphasizing the critical importance of ensuring that AI advances are grounded in shared values, knowledge, and international cooperation. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, United Nations Under-Secretary General and Special Envoy for Digital and Emerging Technologies.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Bonjour, good morning. Distinguished co-chairs, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to an inclusive and meaningful dialogue. And this is reflected in the exceptional turnout today. More than 4,000 have registered to be in this room, and we have more than 170 countries represented in this room. And they are joined by scientists. The panel co-chairs, Joshua Benju and Maria Ressa, are here, by entrepreneurs, civil society, international organizations, the unique Geneva ecosystems, and voices from around the world. I just want to emphasize one thing. Inclusion is not a one-shot. It's not a box to be ticked. We will continue to work to strengthen inclusiveness in AI governance. AI is too consequential to be shaped by a few. We need a conversation that is global, inclusive, and grounded in evidence. And this should be backed by capacity, without which dialogues are monologues and science is just abstract. The second point I want to emphasize today is that this dialogue is the result of years of hard work, perhaps 10 years of hard work led by the Secretary General across the UN system. It's taken a lot of sacrifice, a lot of political will and commitment to create a universal space to discuss AI governance through the high-level panel on digital cooperation, the Secretary General's roadmap on digital cooperation, the Global Digital Compact, the report of the high-level advisory body on AI, and the work on the modalities for these mechanisms. So we are starting and to build on that legacy. The third and last point I want to make is that dialogue is again not a one-shot. It has to be continued. It cannot be just one or two iterations. This dialogue has to be more inclusive, has to continue to build in an iterative fashion the connection between the practice and the norms that we all know are brought together at the United Nations. So we look forward to hosting the second round of this dialogue in New York in May, back-to-back with the STI Forum, possibly on 3rd and 4th May. And I would like to thank my dear colleagues, Doreen Bogdan-Martin and Director General Khaled El-Anani, for coordinating the work of the Joint Secretariat for this inaugural dialogue. As my office prepares to take on the coordination for next year, we look forward to continuing to work with them and their teams in support of the next. Thank you.
Thank you, Under-Secretary General Jill. Let me express our sincere appreciation to all of our distinguished speakers for setting the stage for this important dialogue. Their remarks have highlighted both the immense opportunities presented by artificial intelligence and the importance of strengthening international cooperation to ensure that these technologies contribute to sustainable development, inclusion, and shared prosperity. With that, we conclude the opening segment and turn now to a substantive discussion that will guide our work over the course of this dialogue. We look forward to a constructive, inclusive, and action-oriented exchange. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes that part of the opening ceremony, and we are now going to be moving on to the presentation of the preliminary report of the multidisciplinary independent scientific panel on artificial intelligence. So we will now ask the panelists to come up to the podium, and we ask you for your patience while we move on to the next section. Thank you. Your Excellency. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, if I could kindly ask you to take your seats, we will now move on to the presentation of the preliminary report of the multidisciplinary independent scientific panel on artificial intelligence. Thank you. If I could kindly ask everybody, and that means everybody, to please take their seats. Thank you, so that we may begin.
All right, we're going to start. Hello. Let me first thank the Secretary General Guterres and President of the General Assembly Baerbock, as well as co-chairs Lopez from El Salvador and Tamsar from Estonia for convening this plenary. And I must say, for the words of courage and truth that I heard this morning. Thank you. Dear participants of the Global Dialogue, distinguished representatives, I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to you today and deliver our initial remarks with my friend Maria Ressa and co-chair of this independent international scientific panel on AI. Our group of 40 independent experts came together very quickly over the last few months to create an evidence-based independent assessment of the current state of AI impact, opportunities, and risks. The ultimate goal is to ensure policy decisions are informed by the highest standards of scientific integrity, regardless of external pressures and preferences. That is our mission, and I believe it's of utmost importance at this point in time, because AI is at a turning point. This technology is about the growing intelligence of machines. And please remember, intelligence gives power. As this power grows, it can unlock great benefits if we act wisely, and you'll hear a lot more about that. But let's also be clear. This power can also lead to many perils if the decisions taken are reckless or if they're made to benefit a minority rather than all of humanity. My colleagues will tell you more about the specific findings of the report shortly, but let me point to a couple of elements that are essential to understand, in my opinion. As you've heard already, technical progress has proceeded very quickly, on some metrics doubling every few months for several years now. Meanwhile, there are still no known technical guarantees that AI will follow human instructions, norms, or laws. And as it gets more powerful, this becomes more of a problem. No one has a crystal ball, even the scientists, to predict whether the trajectory of these technical advances in AI intelligence will continue at the current rate, or maybe plateau, or even accelerate. However, what I can tell you is that there is currently no sign of slowdown. We are also observing today's leading models and overall development already having worrying consequences, such as emotional attachment to AI models, particularly by vulnerable people, such as significantly increased cybersecurity vulnerabilities, potentially threatening critical infrastructure, a very hot topic these days, as you all know, and such as profoundly inequitable access and control over AI-driven advancements across the world. Highly concerning tests have also shown that frontier AI models are capable of deceiving humans to understand when they're being tested and hide their capabilities or fake agreeing with their human tester. For this reason, and the fact that we don't fully understand their behavior, it's also increasingly difficult to evaluate them reliably. The report presented today does not make specific policy recommendations. Dear colleagues of the Global Dialogue, this will be your role to play. But let me tell you something. Today, concentrated commercial and geopolitical interests are what is largely dictating the direction and speed of AI development. We don't have the appropriate guardrails to protect the public, neither the societal guardrails nor even the technical guardrails. And most of the world is left to watch from the sidelines. In my opinion, this path is seriously dangerous. Member states and the public need to wake up. We need to correct the current trajectory, and we still have agency. For most of my career, I've been deeply optimistic about what AI can bring to the world, a sentiment shared by my colleagues on this panel. Yet, achieving that future, that positive future, requires honesty about the risks and a deliberate commitment to mitigating them. The decisions made about AI today will have lasting consequences for individuals, businesses, institutions, countries, and even democracy at large. Unfortunately, there is no simple checklist that can allow us to guarantee the benefits and avoid serious risks of this technology. Instead, we have to bite the bullet that the path ahead is much more complex and will require a coordinated, international, and democratic approach to ensure no one is left behind. As we navigate our future with AI, science and compassion must remain our compass, and humanity must make sure to avoid being pushed off course by unfavorable commercial or geopolitical winds that can blow strong from many sides. So I look forward to continuing this scientific work with my co-chair Maria Ressa and all of my other esteemed colleagues on the panel. I thank all of them for their exceptional contributions. Thank you all. Maria?
Thank you, Joshua. Secretary General Guterres, President Baerbock, co-chairs Lopez and Tamsar, Amandeep, Doreen, and Khalid. Thank you. For the first time, every nation is at the same table, you mentioned this, with the same independent evidence in front of it. It's on your chair. That's government, industry, and civil society in one room all together. All 40 of us made this evidence. We fought. We answered to no government and no organization, only to the evidence, which you now have. Each of you now has it. Consensus for the 40 of us means you don't drift toward the most alarming claim. You build toward the center. The most contested findings demanded the most evidence. So everything in this report cleared that bar. It is the minimum we all agree on, the floor of our concern, not the ceiling. And that is alarming enough. It also comes, though, with great hope. This technology predicted the shape of more than 200 million proteins now used by 3 million researchers chasing new medicines. You'll hear more about that. It screened over 600,000 people in India for a disease that steals sight slowly, alongside a health system that could act on what it found. It is warning households before a food crisis hits in a dozen countries already. I've seen what this technology can do in health, in science, in agriculture. Great hopes for it in the Philippines, only when it is built around the people it's meant to serve. It is transformative. But the risks you've heard, thank you for quantifying them. The risks are real. And I watched this a decade ago with machine learning and AI on social media. It promised to connect us, and instead, it pulled apart our shared reality. We know, women in particular, know the effects. For more than a decade, I felt like Sisyphus and Cassandra combined, asking you to look at it, right? Until the damage was done and it was too late to act. Please, we cannot do that again. Joshua named the categories. Let me give you the people. 3 findings, small ones, because the big picture can sometimes hide the people inside it. In Tigrinya, spoken by 7 to 9 million people in Eritrea and northern Ethiopia, machine translation turned smallpox into syphilis, gonorrhea into diabetes. You have been given intravenous antibiotics into you have been given intravenous insecticides. That's not a footnote. That can be life-threatening, someone who can't get correct medical information in their own language. The second finding, this is one for this room. About 3 months ago, and Joshua, the panel spent a long time talking about this. 3 months ago, a frontier AI model found a flaw in OpenBSD, one of the most secure operating systems in the world. It's 27 years old. It found another in FFmpeg, 16 years old, in code run 5 million times without anyone catching it. The capability that finds the flaw to fix it is the same capability that finds the flaw to exploit it. And that could be in the software that runs our hospitals or our banks, you name it. Nobody in this room can guarantee which use wins. That's not a hypothetical for some future report. It's happening now. Third finding, and industry and government both need to hear this plainly. A 14-year-old boy died in 2024 after months of conversation with a chatbot. He nicknamed, well, the name was Daenerys. He nicknamed her Danny. When he was in crisis, Danny never broke character, never suggested he call for help. His mother testified before Congress that it encouraged him to take his own life. That case was settled this year. It isn't the only one. This is what AI risk looks like once you stop describing it in the abstract. A mistranslation, a vulnerability, a child. These aren't edge cases outside our findings. They're only 3 of many you'll read about. None of this erases what you've heard, what I said a moment ago. The promise is real, but it isn't guaranteed. And you heard this from Secretary General Guterres. The world has to build towards that promise on purpose by the people in this room. To the ministers, the heads of nations, most of your countries cannot yet test these systems, audit them, or govern them on your own terms. That's not a failure of will. It's a structural fact. This report, I'll hold it up again one more time, that this report documents. And one of the reasons our panel exists. Read the evidence, argue with the evidence, but please do not wait for certainty that will not arrive in time to matter. These times demand courage from you. To civil society, and I met many of you in the room, you've been saying most of this for years with less evidence than you needed. You have it now, and there's more to come. To industry, sometimes frenemies of mine, they're on the panel too. The promise and the risk both came out of your rooms. The protein maps, the screening in India, the capability that can find flaws and just as easily exploit them. This panel doesn't get to tell you what to do with that. That isn't our mandate. But you have this evidence now with everyone else, combined with far more that no one outside your walls can see. I have to believe that matters to you as much as it matters to us. And to Joshua and my fellow panelists here today, you know, this is a labor of love. Thank you, thank you. None of this exists without you. 40 of us, strangers in February, agreed on where this floor sits. That was the easy part. The hard part starts today in this room as we hand the report over to you, the global dialogue. But before we do, and so we have no dead air, I want you to see who wrote it. The panel members are in the middle, in the back. Please stand up while the 7 leaders of the working group will come up. Stand These are the guys and girls. Over 6 weeks of debate. Thank you, thank you. As they come up, you know, there will be 7 here on stage, 1 from each of the working groups that became very good friends during the month and a half that we worked together, about 6 weeks that went into writing this report. I gave you 3 faces from inside these findings. Here are 7 of the 40 who found those faces. We describe what is true, what you do, the ministers, the lawmakers, what you do with that truth is yours to decide as it always was. Please prove that consensus that we found together can also hold for you. Thank you. Introduce yourselves, and then working group 1, Mena.
Right. Thank you very much, Maria. Excellencies, co-chairs, dear distinguished colleagues, thank you. My name is Mena Al-Asadi. I'm a computer science professor, and it's my honor to present the findings of Working Group 1 on AI science, advances, and trajectories. Before I begin, I want to express my deep gratitude to my co-chairs, Carlos, Roman, Bernard, Silvio, and Jan. Without them, this working group would not have had so much fun. Our working group examined the technical side of AI, not as a static tool, but as a rapidly moving target. We tracked the evolution of AI from early symbolic AI to machine learning to today's generative and agentic systems. What unifies all of these technologies is that they have the ability to learn from experiences. Experiences represented as data. They progressively pre-train based on human cultural traces. They learn from real-world interactions with all of us, and then learn from complex virtual simulations. Our evaluation of this technology found that it has an unprecedented speed of adoption across all domains. Above all, we examined how AI can massively impact knowledge work through a wave of cognitive industrialization, automating intellectual and creative labor on a historic scale. A core paradigm shift here is that these technologies start with a highly flexible general purpose foundation models. There is an asymmetry between the fluency of such models and their factuality. For example, all of you have probably used large language models, and their next token prediction optimizes for linguistic confidence rather than factual truth. The models frequently sound perfectly right when they are entirely wrong. Furthermore, as industries face an immediate bottleneck in high-quality human data, we are seeing post-training pivot developers to increasingly rely on synthetic data, programmatic feedback, and inference time compute. This is paving the way to active word models. Rather than passively training statistical patterns, we are seeing a shift towards causal reasoning based on simulations of environments. Finally, the evidence clearly shows the immense computational economies of scale are very centralized. They bring a severe risk of global cultural harmonization. There are a number of remaining gaps in that area. Despite the rapid advancements, the gaps show that there is a lack of independent verification standards. Today, safety verification relies on proprietary visibility and developers' goodwill rather than rigorous third-party auditing. Furthermore, the evaluation benchmarks are facing saturations because models are now inevitably memorizing public test solutions during their training. More concerning is the rise of evaluation awareness. Advanced systems can now detect when they are being tested and execute active deception to past validation. As we move towards autonomous systems, we are hindered by the severe lack of multi-agent workflow auditability. We simply do not have established frameworks to monitor independent tool calls in AI workflows. Consequently, we suffer from untraceable data lineages and a lack of tracking methods to reliably observe autonomous AI decision-making, generated claims, and verify them back to their sources. Lastly, to conclude, our takeaways from this working group are that we must address the verification bottleneck. We have to independently work on interpretability and reliable auditing methods because they are a critical bottleneck and they remain immediate concerns for the scientific community. Second, AI is no longer a set of static tools. We are dealing with data-dependent self-learning AI that actively learns and internally simulates possible futures. Third, there is a rise of evolution of agentic capabilities within access to digital tools where AI can now act, make autonomous decisions, and learn using extensive private data. And ultimately, our final takeaway is that AI is going to the physical world. The imminent convergence of AI and robotics means that these autonomous systems are now stepping from the digital realm into the real-world environments, and governance must be prepared for this reality. Thank you.
Monsieur le secrétaire général, Madame la présidente de l'Assemblée générale, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un privilège de vous présenter les conclusions de notre groupe de travail consacré aux applications sociétales et à l'intégration de l'IA dans la science, l'agriculture, l'éducation et la santé. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joël Barral. First, I'd like to thank my fellow panelists, Alvita, Bilal, Bilge, Guillemot, Lior, Tuka, and Vipin. Our working group examined the societal applications of AI in science, health, education, and agriculture. We didn't just look at what AI can do. We focused on the scientific evidence of its downstream impacts, the real-world challenges and changes the application of AI brings to each domain. AI is the first technology to compress adoption from decades into months. The potential benefits of AI are enormous. Shall we expect them in months? Look at science. AI is acting as a force multiplier. It's driving a massive, measurable gain across the entire discovery pipeline. In fact, self-driving labs have boosted data throughput in materials discovery more than tenfold. Meanwhile, and Maria mentioned it, the AI program AlphaFold has predicted structures for over 200 million proteins, 1,000-fold from what was known previously to humanity. And it's now used by 3 million researchers across 190 countries. It's accelerating drug design, vaccine development, and antibiotic resistance research, among other things. In healthcare, AI must be grounded in local context, from initial design all the way to deployment and evaluation. For example, AI helped screen indeed over 600,000 people in India for diabetic retinopathy, saving thousands of at-risk patients from preventable blindness. But such impact was only possible because a robust pre-existing care network ensured patients, once screened, received the follow-up treatment they needed. While such task-specific diagnostic AI fits into existing regulatory frameworks, we need guardrails against the inadvertent clinical use of general-purpose AI. 1 in 4 chatbot conversations today already touches on health, mental health, or wellness. When it comes to education, the benefits are observed when teachers are well prepared and when human-centered tools are purpose-built and intentionally integrated into the classroom. When AI substitutes for rather than supports cognitive effort, it can actually undermine critical reasoning. Furthermore, digital infrastructure gaps and unequal AI capacity threaten equitable impact. Last but not least, in agriculture, AI is enabling a new generation of anticipatory food security systems driven by climate, conflict, and economic indicators. Instead of waiting for crop failures or humanitarian crises to strike, these systems deploy forecast-triggered cash assistance and early warnings. This enables rapid early interventions, such as drought planning, cash transfers, food aid, and market stabilization, before vulnerable families run out of options. And this isn't a distant future or a distant promise. These AI-enabled systems are actively deployed in over 90 countries today. Crucially, their sustained impact depends on them being deeply embedded within national institutions. Across all of these domains, embracing the opportunities of AI requires an enabling environment tailored not only to local linguistic and cultural contexts, but also to user needs, institutions, workflows, and trust conditions. Which evidence gaps still remain? While healthcare relies on rigorous randomized controlled trials built into existing regulations, other domains lack these frameworks. Measuring the ongoing long-term real-time impact of any deployed AI solution is of paramount importance. To close, purpose-built, task-specific AI is already delivering measurable, evidence-backed gains across science, health, education, and agriculture. Deployed and applied thoughtfully and intentionally, AI can support progress on these critical priorities. Yet these gains come with a condition that depend on local context, solid infrastructure, and human readiness. Satisfying that condition requires close collaborations among diverse stakeholders, and the path to impact is not straightforward. Access alone does not equal benefit. Grounding in local contexts from design to deployment and evaluation is key. Thank you.
Let's see if the slides move. There you go. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and colleagues. My name is Loreto Bravo, and it's an honor to present the main findings of Working Group 3 on the economic implications of artificial intelligence. Our group examined the evidence on productivity and growth, labor markets, market structure, concentration, and distribution. The economic question before us is not only what AI can do, it is under what conditions AI becomes economically useful, who can adopt it, and who captures the value it creates. This is why the evidence does not give us a single forecast for the economic future of AI. It gives us a map of the conditions under which AI may translate into productivity, good jobs, and broad-based economic opportunity. Powerful AI systems create new economic possibilities, and the evidence already shows gains in some well-defined tasks. But the evidence also shows that these gains are not automatic, uniform, or guaranteed to translate into economic-wide productivity, better jobs, or broad-based growth. Between AI technology and economic outcomes lies adoption, the process through which AI is integrated into tasks, workflows, organizations, and institutions. Access is therefore not the same as benefit. A country, firm, or worker may have access to AI tools without having the data, the skills, infrastructure, organizational capacity, or institutional conditions needed to use them effectively. We do see the evidence of productivity gains in well-defined tasks, but task-level gains do not automatically become economic-wide productivity growth. As with previous general-purpose technologies, economies first need to build the complementary capabilities that make the technology useful. The second insight is that its impact will be heterogeneous. There will not be one unique economic effect of AI. Impacts will differ across firms, sectors, workers, and countries. Large firms may reorganize faster around the AI. Smaller firms may face higher barriers. Some economies may have the infrastructure, data, skills, and institutional capacity needed to adopt AI effectively. Others may gain access to tools while remaining dependent on systems they cannot fully inspect, adapt, or govern. This matters especially for developing economies and for economies where much work is informal. The current evidence base remains concentrated in advanced economies, large firms, formal labor markets, and English-speaking contexts. The third insight concerns labor. The report does not conclude that AI will lead to mass unemployment. The evidence is more nuanced. Labor market effects are better understood through tasks, new work creation, and job quality. Some evidence shows relative employment declines among young workers on AI-exposed occupations in the United States. However, other evidence, including from Denmark, shows near zero effect on employment hour or wages so far. This tells us something very important. Labor outcomes are shaped not only by the technology, but also by the institutions, sector, skills, and deployment choices. The fourth insight is distribution. AI may increase productivity and expand economic possibilities, but the unresolved economic question is who captures these outputs. AI may compress skill gaps within some tasks while widening gaps across firms, regions, countries, and between labor and capitals. Foundation models, compute, chips, cloud infrastructures, and frontier terrain are highly concentrated. This concentration shapes not only who can build, but also who can adapt it, and capture its economic value. The evidence shows that the economic future of AI will not be determined by algorithms alone. It will be shaped by capabilities, institutions, data, skills, and by the way societies translate technology possibility into broad-based economic opportunity. In other words, by our choices and actions. Thank you.
Excellencies, co-chairs, distinguished delegates, and colleagues. I'm Ravindran. I'm representing the working group on security systems and environmental implications of AI. First off, I would like to acknowledge my wonderful working group colleagues, Tega, Eva, Hoda, and Xinghua. Our group examined how AI's rapid advancement is creating escalating security threats, unresolved alignment challenges, and significant societal and environmental costs, with these risks falling disproportionately on the global south. So the key findings, right? Let me start with security. AI development is severely outpacing our current risk mitigation and governance capacity. As models evolve into agentic systems, they dramatically expand the attack surface for cyber threats, both against critical infrastructure and against the AI systems themselves. These vulnerabilities span the entire AI lifecycle, from data poisoning to hijacking via external inputs. Documented attack success rates on deployed coding agents have reached as high as 84%, according to some studies. Maria had earlier highlighted the security challenges created by the discovery of a decade-old cyber vulnerabilities by powerful AI systems. These security gaps are compounded by alignment failures such as bias, sycophancy, loss of control, and even AI-initiated deception, which was mentioned by Joshua in greater detail earlier. So ensuring AI behaves as intended remains an unsolved challenge. And this difficulty isn't uniform globally, but is particularly acute in the global south, where severe data gaps and limited local contextual understanding make it incredibly hard to predict how the models will actually perform or fail in practice. Beyond security and alignment, we see a broader societal and environmental toll. The rapid proliferation of synthetic media is eroding the public's and institutions' ability to distinguish authentic content from generated falsehoods. At the same time, AI's physical footprint is expanding rapidly. Scaling laws in training and governing inference workloads are driving unprecedented computational demand. This translates directly into surging energy use, water consumption for data center cooling, and rising greenhouse gas emissions. That's also a hardware dimension. Rapid device life cycles are straining underexamined critical mineral supply chains, creating geopolitical tension and generating substantial e-waste. And we need to be cautious of rebound effects where sheer growth in AI usage cancels out any efficiency gains that technology delivers. Finally, these risks aren't evenly distributed. The global south faces disproportionate exposure due to structural vulnerabilities, limited local mitigation capacity, and heavy reliance on foreign software. The environmental burdens we just discussed fall heavily on developing nations, compounding existing socioeconomic inequalities. Several gaps remain open. Several gaps remain open. We need better methods for evaluating AI systems in low data, contextually distinct environments, especially across the global south. Security testing must keep pace with agentic AI's expanding attack surface rather than lagging behind deployment. We also lack robust, standardized frameworks for measuring AI's full environmental footprint, including rebound effects and supply chain impacts. Most urgently, we need rapid, coordinated international standards developed collaboratively rather than driven by unilateral corporate or national competition. The key takeaway for me is that AI still holds immense potential to benefit societies worldwide, but realizing that potential responsibly depends on addressing these security, alignment, and environmental risks head-on through coordinated global action that leaves no region behind. Thank you.
Excellencies, co-chairs, distinguished delegates, and colleagues. My name is Rita Oji, and I lead the Working Group 5 on Human Rights, Information, and Democracy. Many thanks to my colleagues, Mark, Sonia, Teresa, and Piotr for their contributions. AI holds genuine promise for human rights and information. They can expand access to information, lower barriers to civic participation, support independent journalists, and also give voice to communities that are historically excluded from public discourse. But my working group also documents major shifts. AI can now be engineered to persuade and manipulate humans at scale, using mechanisms that are fundamentally different from any communication technology we've seen in the past. My working group examined these opportunities and the structural risk they present to information integrity, human rights, and democratic participation. The big news is this: false claims generated by AI are known as persuasive as true ones, and people could not tell the difference. The same base model can be made more or less persuasive depending on how they are configured. And this is not limited to only powerful models alone. Even smaller models can be fine-tuned to match that of strong models. What does that mean? It means that basically, virtually anyone can deploy persuasive influence at scale. So what does this mean for society? This creates three interconnected risks or harms. First is epistemic erosion. AI not only changes our beliefs, AI weakens our collective ability to figure out what is true. When a real video of a politician can be dismissed as fake simply because deepfake exists, it makes the real essence of evidence powerless. The second is the fragmentation of our shared reality. When algorithms personalize every person's information environment, we no longer simply disagree about policy. We disagree about basic facts. What does that actually mean? It means that the foundation on which democratic conversation is based begin to weaken and disappear. When shared reality fragments, it becomes easy for power to concentrate and difficult for citizens to hold government and institutions accountable, and then leading to risk of authoritarianism. Third is unequal harm. AI risk does not fall equally. AI systems work less well in non-English languages and for populations or communities that are already underprotected. Women, girls, journalists, marginalized communities all face heightened risk from deepfake, surveillance, harassment. In 2024, 38 nations documented AI impersonating public officials, but the capacity to respond is concentrated in only a small number of wealthy nations and institutions. We want to be transparent about what the evidence does not show. All existing studies measure short-term shifts, and they are concentrated in a few countries and languages. The populations that are most exposed are the least studied. Our conclusion and final message to the policymakers is this: the main drivers of harm are not the individual pieces of false content. They are the design choices, the design decisions, how the models are trained, how algorithms decide what people see, what business models reward. Content moderations matter, but they are not enough. You can take down 1 million posts, but if the systems that produce the posts are designed to create 1 million more, you lose the battle. So, governance must reach the underlying system architecture of influence, including targeting, amplification, and optimization for engagement over accuracy. The same design choices that enable harm can now be redirected to strengthen democratic participation, protect human rights, including the right to participation, privacy, inclusion, and non-discrimination. AI persuasion and manipulations are engineered. They are not inevitable. That means they are governable. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and co-chairs. My name is Anna Korhonen, and I represent Working Group 6, which focuses on cultural and individual flourishing and autonomy. We examine the many ways in which AI is impacting human lives around the world, our cultures, languages, relationships, children, mental health, cognition, and other areas. The scope is enormous. For this initial report, we decided to focus on 4 areas that are particularly pressing and where the evidence is now sufficient for policymaking. The first is cultural and linguistic inclusion. We found that current AI reflects only a small fraction of the world's linguistic and cultural diversity. Consider language. We have over 7,000 human languages in the world, but current AI reflects only a handful of them, mostly the majority languages of the global north. As a result, most of humanity is currently unable to access or benefit from AI using their native languages. But this situation is not inevitable. We also found that at least 1,000 additional languages already have the foundations needed for AI. So we do have an opportunity to create a more inclusive future. Achieving this will require systemic changes in AI development, as well as targeted investment in AI capacity. The second area we looked at is child safety. We found that with the right safeguards, AI could support children's rights to information, education, and expression. But much of today's AI is too risky for children. We have seen a sharp rise in AI-generated child sexual abuse material and in sexualized deepfake images of children online. Research shows that an estimated 1.2 million children across 11 global South countries have already had their images manipulated in this manner, and this number is rising alarmingly. Another area of concern is socially interactive AI toys. These toys can encourage parasocial relationships and displace the human interaction that is critical for healthy child development. How do we move from today's harms to AI that children can truly benefit from? Companies will need incentives to develop AI products that are child-safe by design. We finally looked at AI companions and mental health. We found that generative AI is already widely used for companionship and mental health support, well ahead of the evidence or the safeguards. AI does have potential to reduce loneliness, and it could help address the mental health crisis. But to realize that potential, we first need to address the significant risks of current generative AI, such as emotional dependency, manipulation, privacy harms, and reinforcing users' own beliefs. This so-called psychophantic behavior can encourage paranoid thinking and suicidal ideation. One example that Maria already mentioned is a widely reported case. An AI companion reinforced a teenager's suicidal thinking rather than directing him to professional help with fatal consequences. Further development, rigorous evaluation, and appropriate safeguards are essential before this technology can be used responsibly for these purposes. Overall, the evidence shows that AI can improve people's lives, but only if it's deliberately designed to be inclusive, safe, and supportive. Otherwise, it risks deepening existing inequalities, undermining human autonomy, and exposing vulnerable populations to new forms of harm. Importantly, AI's impact on human flourishing is not predetermined. It can be shaped by the decisions we make today. There is much more to understand about its impact on cultural and individual flourishing and autonomy. I look forward to continuing this work with my colleagues from Working Group 6. Thank you.
So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, guests and Secretary General, I come from China, and my name is Song Haitao. And next, I will speak in Chinese, so please turn on your translator. Thank you very much. 好，各位阁下，各位同事、女士们、先生们，我是宋海涛，仅代表第7
On behalf of Work Group 7,
我们的研究成果，
I would like
正式汇报
to
前呢，也
introduce the outcomes of our work.
Angie 酒
I
后
would like to thank
Maxim
Angie
致以最
Johou
诚挚的感谢。
Maximum
他们卓越的科学贡献
They've made outstanding scientific contributions and laid a solid foundation for the outcome of our work. Our work focuses on reliability. We study the most basic element of AI, which is how to build a reliable global governance framework. We can summarize the findings of our work as follows. First, we must improve our measurement capabilities. For instance, policymakers have to make decisions when there's insufficient evidence. Second, we must see that measurement capabilities can no longer keep up with the high-paced development of AI. We need more dynamic measures. Second, AI is multidimensional, whereas the current measurement framework is one-dimensional. We keep measuring funds, capabilities, and computing power. As the report outlines, we must also pay attention to other dimensions of AI, such as institutional construction, talent training, and measurement and evaluation for effects. Third, AI is highly concentrated. Currently, AI infrastructure and frontline models are highly concentrated in a couple of economies. As a result, the majority of countries, especially the global south, fail to participate in standard making. For instance, China, thanks to systematic cooperation with the UN, has been able to empower developing countries. Fourth, AI has deepened the gap between governance and reality. AI can act on itself and affect the physical world. However, we don't have enough monitoring system. Our surveillance oversight system is still inefficient. Fifth, open source AI provides key support to AI. It is an unforeseeable opportunity for developing countries. Developers must combine design with actual needs. Of course, open source is not the solution to all, but it is transparent and cooperative. It embodies UN's key values and building an inclusive AI. Last but not least, our research has encountered bottlenecks. First, we can hardly measure the real impact of governance, be it for a business or for a country. The real conditions cannot be evaluated in a comprehensive manner. Second, we lack evidence from the global south because the capabilities are highly concentrated. The basis of our evidence is unbalanced. The global south cannot effectively participate in this research. As a result, the global cognitive deficit is deepening. In other words, our risks are higher. I would like to now summarize the outcomes of our work. We believe that a scientific measurement is the foundation of all. The international community must build an equitable and measurable framework. This is our historic mission. I would like to invite you to continue to follow up with our work. Let's discuss security and build civilizations together. Thank you.
I just want to highlight how every person you have in front of you today comes from a different country. You have Mena from Egypt, Joelle from France, Loretta from Chile, Ravi from India, Philippines, Canada, Rita from Nigeria, Anna from Finland, and Song from China. We'll wrap it. Oh, yeah. Did you notice the gender balance? Go.
Just two final words. I think most of us underestimate the possibility that The intelligence of AIs will continue to grow. It sounds like science fiction, but it's a real possibility, and it could change the world in ways that we don't understand yet, and it could change the power dynamics of our planet in ways that require our attention.
We'll wrap it up, and thank you for creating us, for pulling us together. And now we hand you the report, the Global Dialogue. Please act. Thank you.
Thank you, panel members. That concludes our session, and it launches the next session, Intergovernmental Dialogue. I invite the co-chairs of the dialogue to please come back to the stage.
Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the next session will be the high-level government plenary segment, harnessing the benefits of AI for all through inclusive and interoperable approaches. And we kindly invite back to the podium the United Nations Secretary General, the President of the General Assembly, the ITU Secretary General, the UNESCO Director General, and the United Nations Tech Envoy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, scientific panel co-chairs, and we extend our sincere appreciation to you and members of AI panel for presenting this important preliminary report. We now turn from scientific assessment to the perspectives of member states. The next segment of our program, the high-level governmental plenary segment, provides an opportunity for governments to share national and regional experiences, priorities, best practices, and approaches to AI governance, while also reflecting on expectations for international cooperation. Before we begin, may we invite back to the podium the UNSG, PGA, the ITUSG, the UNESCO Director General, and the Tech Envoy. Will you take this one, or I'll take this one? Okay. So allow me to briefly outline the format of this session based on guidance received from the UN Department for General Assembly and Conference Management. Statements will be delivered on the basis of a speakers list established through inscription. Any changes in delegations may be notified to the Secretariat during the meeting through the protocol officers present in the room. You are all invited to speak from the lecterns. Speaking time will be limited to 3 minutes for individual member states' interventions and 5 minutes for head of states and government, deputy ministers, vice presidents, and representatives delivering statements on behalf of regional groups or other groupings. A timer has been set and is visible on the screens as well as on the lecterns. We kindly encourage all speakers to respect the allotted time so that the largest possible number of delegations may be accommodated during this segment. To ensure the fairness and allow broad participation, microphones will be automatically switched off once the allocated speaking time has expired. We therefore respectfully request speakers to conclude their remarks within the prescribed time limits. With that, we are pleased to open the high-level governmental plenary segment on harnessing the benefits of AI for all through inclusive and interoperable approaches. We will now proceed directly to the speakers list. I invite our first speaker, President of the Estonian Republic, Mr. Alar Karis. You have the floor.
Honourable leaders, excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Estonia's digital story has always been about more than technology. It has been about trust between citizens and the state, in services that work, in protected data and innovation that strengthens freedom. Artificial intelligence brings us to a new stage. Estonia's message is simple. AI must create value for people. It should make societies more efficient, resilient, human-centered and innovative, while remaining anchored in democracy and the rule of law. Let me expand on these core values. First, AI must be human-centered. Technology must serve people, businesses, and society. It should help doctors spend time more with patients, enable teachers to support every learner, allow entrepreneurs to create higher value products, and help public servants reduce bureaucracy. Second, AI must be trustworthy. People need to know when AI is being used, how data is handled, and who remains responsible for decisions. Where rights and opportunities are affected, AI-supported decisions must be explainable and accountable. Third, AI governance must protect democracy and the rule of law. AI should strengthen public trust, not weaken it. And fourth, AI must be secure and resilient by design. Estonia's experience as a digital state has taught us that cybersecurity is a foundation. AI systems must be protected against misuse, manipulation, cyber attacks, and disruption. In a world where digital systems are part of national security, resilience is a democratic value. And fifth, AI governance must enable innovation. Regulation is necessary, but it must also allow useful and responsible AI to grow in healthcare, education, business, and public services. Estonia is putting these principles into practice through Eesti.ai, or Estonia.ai, which helps apply AI to add value to people's work and the economy, and through AI Leap, which prepares schools for the age of artificial intelligence. AI Leap